Well, as our
Okay.
inspiration, Ionia would say, "Hello, hello, hola, ciao, and bonjour."
Yeah, Iona would say all of those words.
Who's that? What's it? It's us coming to you live from the ionosphere.
Who's what's it?
Who's the what's it? I love, I love Ionia so much.
I wish I loved her so much, but we're not tiering the
Oh
characters.
no!
But if we did, the only S tier would be Larry twice.
Oh my gosh, Larry is an icon. I love Larry. I
Larry
would,
would
I would.
be S tier both as the gym leader and as the Elite Four. It is the only time I was excited to see a character
It
play
sparks
with two
so much
roles.
joy. Oh my gosh, that
Like,
was so funny to me. He was like, "Yeah, they'll dock my pay if I talk for you for too long." uh, the prima
well,
donna, La Primera, insisted that I switch my team around, but I really wanted to use my normal team again.
I mean, what I loved about that even more was because it specifically was flying. I went in being like, okay, I'm gonna start with a fighting Pokemon, and then he's like, I'm using flying. I'm like, I hate you,
Yeah, yeah,
but I don't
that
hate
was
you.
so. I really did think that he was normally normal type too, because I didn't look up anything. It was such a refreshing experience.
Oh yeah, he is definitely S tier. There are a number of A tiers. I liked a lot of characters. I will say the bug gym leader. I in my head she had Mercedes' voice from Fire Emblem Three Hopes
Oh,
or Three
she's such a
Houses,
sweetheart. Yeah, and I
and
feel like she like Mercedes or like Haru from Persona 5. Like
and
it's like,
the grass gym leader had Hubert's voice.
oh yeah, definitely Hubert coded. Hmm.
That was his gender was Hubert.
Yeah, the water type gym leader belonged in a Xenoblade Chronicles game.
God, I didn't like the way he looked, but
Yeah, he
anyways,
looked bad, but like his accent was definitely like, "Oh, you sound like you're from like you're Gormati." Like there's just something
Scottish.
really intense about how you speak, and I can't pinpoint the country of origin.
It's sure as heck not Spain where you're supposed to be.
Oh man.
Uh, but anyways, we are here not to rag on the characters, but to tier the Pokemon. All of
Yeah.
all of the Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. I figured we did that with Legends Arceus, so be fun to continue that. And I do have some strong opinions about some. And so it looks like this tier list has things in a bit of a weird order. We're gonna go in the order on the tier list for the sake of ease, because I otherwise won't remember Pokedex order.
Yeah, no, this is really weird that they would do it in this way.
But this was without spending a huge amount of time digging. This was what I found that was a complete list. Because
Yeah, it has everything we need.
most of them left out like Paldean, like regional forms stuff.
Yeah, I really like that they did the Mousehold versions and the Dunsparce versions too.
Yeah. So, anyways, we are starting with this little girl right here, Tinkatink.
Tinkatink.
Uh, so Tinkatink, when I first caught her, I named mine Belle because I thought she was holding a bell, to be honest.
Mm.
And I only am particularly attached to her because that was one of my mainstays for the entire rest of the game. But
Mm-hmm.
not until the middle stage, but I'll get to that. Tinkatink is all right. Its name's kind of eh. It's I think the first no, it's not the first Fairy Steel. I think it's the second Fairy Steel
Yeah, Fairy Steel was
because the keys
Clef.
Klefki. Uh, but overall, I think Tinkatink has a cute design. It looks like a baby Pokemon, even though it's not technically a baby Pokemon.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I said, it didn't until it evolved. It didn't give a strong impression to me. I would probably place it around a C tier, which isn't bad. It's all right.
Yeah. I would put it in low B for me. I did. I'm sure the internet found it too, but I stayed disconnected from the internet and any news. But I found like a weird exploit to encounter a Pokemon right at the hills of Los Platos would let you like it let you bypass the school. And I found Tinkatink while exploring that area, like completely under leveled. It was like level 30 Pokemon, and I found it, and it was just very refreshing because like I had seen nothing about the game except for like literally just the initial three starters, not even their evolution. So it was like I felt like childlike wonder upon finally like seeing like a Pokemon that I knew nothing about. I didn't know what type it was. It was very refreshing, and it's only B tier because I don't want to get too crazy, and like its evolutions are gonna go higher. So
Yeah,
uh, low B.
I did forget. I wanted to also kind of go over the Pokedex entries of each Pokemon as we do it, just because I haven't seen the Violet side of them, and
Yeah,
they have, it's all interesting lore and could affect it.
yeah, for
Uh,
sure. And for transparency's sake, I've played through both versions. I don't usually do that, but
yeah,
life found a way.
yeah. Before I read them, I will say I want, based on what you said, I too. I mean, I did follow what was officially revealed before the game, but otherwise, I was not following anything online, and so yeah, Tink was a surprise for me too. It's Scarlet entry is says it swings its handmade hammer around to protect itself, but the hammer is often stolen by Pokemon that eat metal. And the Violet entry says this Pokemon pounds iron scraps together to make a hammer. It will remake the hammer again and again until it's satisfied with the result. So yeah, I mean, despite Scarlet saying it had a hammer to me, it looked like a little toy bell to me. So
Yeah, especially in the early stages.
yeah, but next after Tinkatink is Tinkatuff, and Tinkatuff obviously the evolution. Its hammer is a bit bigger. It's a bit bigger. Uh, it is where I started kind of liking the design more rather than being kind of indifferent. The dex entries say that this Pokemon will attack groups of Ponyard and Bisharp, gathering metal from them in order to create a large and sturdy hammer. And the Violet entry says these Pokemon make their homes in piles of scrap metal. They test the strength of each other's hammers by smashing them together. I do find it interesting that it's essentially hunts Ponyard and Bisharp and then uses their corpses to make a hammer.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And especially because this thing like looks kind of, other than its hammer, it looks kind of cute and harmless. Uh, that kind of stood out to me, and it is probably an upper B rank for me at that point.
Yeah.
So
Uh, and for me, it would be like mid B, um, so substantially higher than its pre-evolution. And like this is when I kind of started realizing kind of the same vibe of like, oh, this is gonna be a cool Pokemon because like sometimes with Pokemon you don't know if they're gonna have two evolutions or one evolution. And something about me that is a plague is that I always, my first time playing through the Pokemon games, for some reason I always need to have a full team of Pokemon that evolve twice. So like when I first saw it, I was like, like I'm probably not gonna keep it. And then it evolved once, and like this is clearly like an in between stage. Like I knew that there was one more after that, so that's when I like emotionally committed to seeing where it would go, and I was not disappointed.
yeah, and I will say, as for some, there's a lot of middle evolutions that look kind of awkward. This doesn't. This already looks cool. You kind of have a clear idea of vaguely where it's going, but
Yeah,
it
it's super cute.
also, but it looks good. It doesn't look like it's bridging a gap.
Yeah. Hmm.
And uh, then there is its final form. I will say this is one of the few Pokemon the internet did kind of vaguely spoil to me. Unfortunately, I saw it at that point. I already had Tinkatuff, and so I immediately realized what it was, and I clicked out, so I didn't look at it like well, but I had vaguely seen it. But Tinkaton, uh, it's honestly it looks cuter. I love the how the pigtails get long and huge, but its hammer is so massive, and I had one on my team, and I'd sometimes just send it out just to like stand next to it. This thing was huge.
Yeah.
Like, uh, it says in the dex that it's 2'4", and maybe it's just because of the hammer, but this thing was like bigger than me, like my character.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, weight is definitely it's like almost like 700 pounds, but like the hammer is like 500 pounds, right? It's like
uh,
something like that.
its weight it says is 248 pounds.
But the hammer, like one of the entries, the Violet entry, I think talks about how heavy the hammer is.
Oh yeah,
So if you like, go
yeah.
ahead.
The Scarlet entry says this intelligent Pokemon has a very daring disposition. It knocks rocks into the sky with its hammer, aiming for flying Corviknight. And the Violet entry says the hammer tops 220 pounds, yet it gets swung around easily by Tinkatink as it steals whatever it pleases and carries its plunder back home.
Yeah. So I interpreted that as you have to subtract the weight of the hammer, and that's the actual weight of the Pokemon, which is like tiny.
28 pounds then.
Yeah, but like even that like endeared it even more to me.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
I'm not sure what the how the cannon weight works there.
yeah,
Uh I do love, and I'll talk about this because we're not even going to go over Corviknight's entry because it's not new. But I love how this thing is implied to be the very reason they don't have Corviknight taxis,
yeah,
because
because
Corviknight's entry says that they don't have Corviknight taxis because of its predators, and this thing says that it knocks rocks into the sky aiming for them,
yeah,
and that's just
I literally I did a double take because I didn't get a Corviknight in my Violet playthrough, but I did get one in my Scarlet. And when I read that, I was like, "Excuse me, what praise on Corviknight?" And then I saw the Tinkatuff entry, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that's brutal!" Like,
yeah,
uh,
like there's currently internet kind of arguments on whether it uses the Corviknight to make its hammer or if it's still just the Bisharp and stuff. Uh, so it's not clear whether it's hunting the Corviknight to make hammers or if it's just hunting the Corviknight because it's a little piece of crap. But I love
yeah,
it.
it's a little gremlin, which is like apt for fairy types.
Yeah,
Fairy is one of my favorite typing, and I love when they do that, when they make fairy types little gremlins. Because, like, it's like
fairies.
Ortega says, they're not just, if you think they're just cute, you got another thing coming.
Yeah, fairy type is not one of my favorites, but that's because Pokemon usually goes for the cute and pure type of fairy, not the original type of fairy, the fae, the
Yeah,
mischievous. At best, neutral, definitely not good aligned.
yeah. That's why I like the Tinkatink line and the Impidimp line. Like, I'm like, that's choice. It's like pure chaos gremlins, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, and also I want to say when I finally first saw Tinkaton in the game, my first thought was actually this looks like a crystal gem. That was my first
Yeah,
thought.
a little bit. Yeah, for sure. I could see
It's
it.
just the little humanoid pink thing looks like a gem, and that looks like its weapon, this massive hammer. And uh, like by then, I was like, I'm not taking this out of my team. I love its signature move. It's like, yeah, you can't use it two turns in a row, but what is the base power? It's a base 160 steel
150.
move.
Yeah, I was
Then
gonna
it
say. Yeah.
always has stab, of course, because it's steel type. So it's really a base 240, and that's assuming you're not hitting super effective, where you can be even you're doing 480, or if you're
Yeah.
hitting a times four,
I mean, add
960.
terrestrializing onto it.
Uh, yeah, if you have a steel type one, I think it's fairy type
Yeah.
as its natural terra type. But like it's such a massive blow that even the times where something survives Gigadon Hammer, I'm like, I don't need to use it twice in a row. I'll just clean up with a different move.
Yeah.
And so I was just loving just smashing things with that hammer. The only thing that disappoints me is Tinkaton's hammer or its attacks in general, it can't actually do much to Corviknight.
Mm.
People have like mathed it out, and two like well statted a Corviknight and a Tinkaton. Tinkaton's signature hammer move takes, I believe, 5 hits to take out a Corviknight without boosting stats, but if you max all your stats in battle, 2 hits still. And of course, you're probably not going to get the 6 attack boost to do that.
Yeah.
And Corviknight, meanwhile, can just heal off of it and can do way more damage to it back, sadly, because it can do neutral damage with steel. So
Yeah.
I do wish its signature move like did extra damage to steel type or something.
I mean, they've done that too with like Salt Cure dealing extra
Which
super effective
we'll
damage
get
to the.
to, but like also there's an ice attack that does that super effective damage to water.
Yeah, and there's a water type actually that's super effective against grass, I think. I don't remember, but it exists. That's essentially what I'm trying to get at. So like,
Yeah.
they could have done something like that for sure.
Yeah, or they could have made it have some sort of ability that does something like ignores steel resistances. I don't know. They could have done something.
They could have done plenty.
At the very least, they could have given it the attack Smackdown. It cannot naturally learn the rock attack Smackdown. That would do
Which
decent
is
neutral
literally
damage to
what the Pokedex entry would say that it does. It throws rocks to smack down Corviknight.
This is like Growlithe not learning Growl in Gen 1 or Lickitung not learning Lick. Like, why does this thing not have Smackdown? I won't blame the Pokemon for that, but Game Freak, I'm calling you out here. This is like one of the few times I'll call you out. You really should have done that. I hope you fix it in the future. But
be better.
But nonetheless, Tinkaton is S tier for me.
It's gonna be A tier for me, but like pretty high A tier.
That's fair.
You know, I usually I don't use S is usually reserved for like 1 or 2 things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna use a ton of S, but this thing, like,
it's great. It's great.
Literally every time I look at it, I like it a little more, and I've looked at it a lot now because I've used it. So like, and even just now looking at it, I like it more. I can't think of any way they could improve the design that I would like it more, to be honest.
So. Like had I played this game just the one time, it probably would be S. But like playing it a second time, I was able to experience more Pokemon that I didn't. So that has shaped how I feel about everyone.
That's fair. So next, I wish the order wasn't weird because I have to scroll around trying to find the dex entries.
Charcadet.
Charcadet.
My boy.
So, Charcadet was not shown before the game came out, but its 2 evolutions were, which is really weird.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw it in game, I was like, "Oh, this evolves into those 2 other Pokemon that they showed off."
Yeah.
I found it fairly early on, and I didn't know for a while how to evolve it until I looked up online. And I actually didn't even evolve mine into post game, and I still need to get the Violet one. But I know what they look like, and we'll talk about those after. But Charcadet itself, its dex entry, Scarlet says, burnt charcoal came to life and became a Pokemon. Possessing a fiery fighting spirit, Charcadet will battle even tough opponents. And its Violet entry says, its firepower increased when it fights, reaching over 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. It likes berries that are rich and fat. So this is a lot of information to process for it. It's not like the 2 entries go over the same stuff. This thing is literal charcoal that came to life and
likes avocados.
And like came human shaped. Yeah, likes fatty berries, and specifically reaches over 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure if that's a relevant number, 1800.
Oh man, I don't know either. But like, that's very hot.
Pokemon seems to love to just pick huge numbers and just throw them out there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how all of the plants around it don't catch fire when it walks around, but
yeah.
Either way, I do like how it looks. It's a little cutie. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a lot to process, and uh, I mean, it's hard for me to have strong feelings of it because of the I didn't use it much because of the obtuse evolution method, and I just didn't get around to it until post game. And I also already had a fire type picked on my team. But I think if I were to replay the game like you and not use it, the same Pokemon, there's a decent chance I'd pick it. Probably not because I have a second choice for a fire type.
Yeah.
I still like its evolutions though, and I think and I like it. I like it. I think it's a good starting. Kind of reminds me of like a fiery Tyrogue with the split
Mm-hmm.
evolution. I'd put it into a B tier below uh, Tinkatuff.
Mm-hmm. Um, well, I actually my entire first playthrough did not encounter a single Charcadet,
Oof.
and like so it was like my white whale. Like every time I opened the map and I saw that a Charcadet could be near, like the entire quest and my entire reason for being stopped, and I was like searching, and I could not find one. I ended up battling one in a Terra raid battle, like one of the evolutions, and then just bred an egg to get it. But I love this little dude, and specifically, it's because of Charlos, the Charcadet from the main story.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
man, I'm such a sucker for like Pokemon that show up and have personalities. Like it ruined me when I saw Charlos. Like I audibly screeched that it had a little mind and opinions, and it was like when you see like a small kid doing like a grown up task. It's like you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
for that reason and that reason alone, Charcadet is S tier for me. The evolutions are not going to be S tier. Spoiler alert. They're okay, but we'll talk about them later. But Charcadet, Charlos, Chef's kiss. One of the best things that could have happened to me in this game.
Yeah. Well, it is later, so we are going to talk about its
Yeah,
evolution.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the first one is Armor Rouge, which uh, that was just obtainable in Scarlet.
Yeah.
Uh, our Armor Rouge's dex entries. Scarlet says Armor Rouge evolved through the use of a set of armor that belonged to a distinguished warrior. This Pokemon is incredibly loyal. And the Violet version says this Pokemon clads itself in armor that has been fortified by psychic and fire energy, and it shoots blazing fireballs. So yeah, it evolves specifically. You need the armor that it's wearing, and you give it to it, and it just, I guess, it evolving is just it putting on armor. Which
Yeah.
I mean, I like that as a concept. I like evolutions that aren't really traditional sense evolutions. That it's literally combining something. It's
Hmm.
kind of like even as simple as back with Steelix, and you're literally fusing the Onyx with the Iron Coat. But so that's interesting, and that's I think the first fire psychic that's not a starter or mythical, like that you can just catch or you can get encounter and you can get in the game naturally. Uh, that being said, it is not. I don't like it as much as its other the other evolution we'll get into,
Yeah.
and I honestly, heck, I don't think I think I actually even like Charcadet a little more than it. I think I'd still put a B tier, but below Charcadet
Hmm.
because and I do like part of why I like also is it looks like something from like Mega Man Battle Network.
Yeah, it really does. Um, is it my turn?
Yeah,
I don't have much to say. C tier, middle of the road. For me, C is middle of the road. It's not. It's
yeah,
not
same
bad.
for
It's
C.
not great. It's like you said, right? There's plenty of other fire type options that I would be more interested in having in my team, and I do like its other counterpart better. But again, even then, there's other fire options. So it's kind of unfortunate. But yeah, that's me.
Well, the other evolution, the one that's can only be obtained in Violet, uh, Ceruledge, already right off the bat, just the second I saw the two Pokemon, I like just the aesthetic of this one more. Blue Fire looks so much nicer to me than the Red Fire, and it's they don't, Pokemon doesn't have a lot of Pokemon that are just naturally Blue Fire Pokemon, and it looks cool and slick. The dex entry says the fiery blades on its arms burn fiercely with the lingering resentment of a sword wielder who fell before accomplishing their goal. And Violet says an old set of armor steeped in grudges caused this Pokemon's evolution. Ceruledge cuts its enemies to pieces without mercy. This was, like I said, when I saw these two evolutions, I liked this one more. And I originally thought I was going to actually find somebody to get a Ceruledge for my team to play through the game. Unfortunately, I end up getting other fire Pokemon that I got more attached to. But I still love this. It's a fire ghost, which isn't unique. We have a Chandelure, and I do want to mention that before the
This
games, what?
this start is also Fire Ghost.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. It's I will do want to mention before the game came out, I remember a leak of a that ended up not being true of a regional Chandelure that was humanoid and had an attractive woman figure.
That's
I'm glad that leak wasn't real and that this was the fire ghost we got instead,
hilarious.
because that made me uncomfortable. It was whoever designed it clearly made it to try to be like have that appeal.
Yeah,
And
the Hatrine and Gardevoir of it all.
yeah, either way, this still gets an A tier for me, even if like a low A tier, even if I didn't use it, because I mean, there was several great fire Pokemon this generation, and I think this, especially for a humanoid Pokemon, this is probably one of the best looking humanoid Pokemon I've seen. Like, I think it looks cool, and a lot of humanoid Pokemon, I kind of take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm. SARS, for me, I would say a lot of what you said also falls to me. Like, I echo a lot of your sentiments. Um, I played Violet first, so I did see this little dude around just in raid battles and just randomly throughout the game a couple of times, and it hits hard. It's really strong. But I just like earlier had too many fire team people options and um, didn't even know how to evolve it because I didn't look anything up until I beat the games.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't even
so
find the. I figured when I found the item I would do it, but I wasn't gonna like actively try to get it, and I didn't find that town until after I beat the game because there's no gym or anything there.
yeah, and the one that I found in the raid battle was the other one, Armor Rouge. Is that its name?
Yeah,
Because it was a Scarlet raid battle that I did online, so I didn't even have an option to use the one from my game because I didn't know. Um, but I would say mid to high B tier for me for Ceruledge. I think it's cool. Um, it's just there's a lot of good fire types this generation.
yeah, I can agree there. Uh, well, next is Toedscool.
So it's cool.
Okay, so I have to
Whatever.
say for at least half, maybe three quarters, somewhere between half and three quarters of the game, I couldn't find this thing. It kept appearing on my radar, and I'd see the little sprite, and I was just like, there is some sort of ridiculous looking tentacle, uh, what was it, divergent evolution in this game that looks like it's standing on its tentacles, and I can't find it, and I don't know what it is. And it was almost my white whale in that way.
Yeah,
Like I just
yeah.
every time I saw it, I like tried to look around, or when I saw it on the radar, I tried to look around. I couldn't find it.
I thought my game was glitching. I'm like, why is there a tentacle on dry land? Like, there
Yeah,
must be too many issues with this game, and I never bothered to look until I saw one in combat, and I was like, ah!
yeah. Well, eventually, I ended up. I think I was actually playing online in a friend's game world, Rashua, another streamer,
Mhm.
and I think that was when I found it because I had to say something cryptic in chat because of how excited I was, but he hadn't seen it yet, so I didn't spoil it. But I was when I saw this, this was like the perfect divergent evolution. I can't think of anything greater. I love its name, Toedscool. I love that it's like this derpy little mushroom tentacle that just walks around. It
Mhm.
looks so dumb, but I love it. The
Yeah.
Scarlet Dex entry is Toedscool lives in muggy forests. The flaps that fall from its body are chewy and very delicious, which makes me
Yum.
uncomfortable, but I still
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, I
And
love entries that talk about Pokemon being consumed.
and Violet says, though it looks like Tentacool, Toedscool is a completely different species. Its legs may be thin, but it can run at a speed of 30 miles per hour, which I didn't know that till just reading that just now, and that's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, yeah.
terrifying. That
Can you
thing running
imagine
at
you're in
you
the forest and that thing just plop, 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 plop. You're like, ah!
30 miles per hour. That's insanely fast.
Yeah.
I like I don't know what I would do because it also looks
I
so
would just
dumb.
resign my fate.
I'd be like, this
Yeah,
is the
I would just be
stupidest
like,
way to
it's
die.
either going to be my friend or exactly. Like it's either gonna be my friend or it's gonna kill me, and I can't control either of them.
But I think I'm okay with either of them.
Yeah,
Like,
I picture it when it's walking the SpongeBob song, the like that. I don't know if you've seen it walk.
no,
It like plops like that.
no, I do,
Oh,
and
it's so
it does the legs. It has the legs of like a cartoon character.
cool. Yeah, it
uh,
really does.
I just noticed. I think it also has a signature ability. What is this? Yeah,
It has
Mycelium
mycelium.
might. Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that if you weren't.
then I'll let you talk about when you get. I just want to wrap up. I didn't use this thing because I picked the grass starter, and this was a grass. But I so badly wanted to use this thing, and I know I already have an S1. I'm swear I'm not gonna have like an insane amount of S1s, but Toedscool, like, I'm sorry, I love it more than Tinkatuff. Like,
That's fair.
this thing,
Yeah,
it's so ridiculous. I just love it, and I can't
yeah,
express in words how much joy this thing gives by existing.
that's fair. I will also say that Toedscool is. I love Toedscool more than I like Tinkatuff as well. But and I wanted to put it in my party. I didn't have a grass type. Well, I did, but we'll get to it. But I actually, Mycelium might kind of was the reason I didn't put it in my team because what it does, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, um, it makes it so it always goes last if it's using like spore based moves.
Any status move.
But yeah, any status move, it will always go last, but the status moves will always work, right? Is that what it is?
They'll ignore abilities.
Yeah. So like that's interesting, but like I play Pokemon really hard and fast. Like I'm always trying to sweep the enemy as quickly as I can. So being forced to go second doesn't really work well with the way I play the game. So I didn't keep it, but I know that in competitive play that could be super useful in specific situations. So I'm sure that somebody is really excited about that
I mean,
ability.
maybe I'd have to look at its. It has to have some bulk for that to even work.
Yeah, and
And
grass usually doesn't.
yeah, looking at stat, it's at the stat of the evolution. I'd say
Yeah.
it kind of has average bulk at best, but there's a lot of weaknesses. I imagine it's probably not really great in competitive play.
Yeah. So the ability was kind of a detractor for me, but I do love the design. Like I said, it's like it was also one of those Pokemon that really made me like open my eyes and be like, oh, this is like a new experience. Like I felt like I was playing the first Pokemon as a child again, just not knowing what anything was, what anything's type was, what anything did. It was very pleasant. So like I would rate it not S, but like I rate it higher than Tinkaton. I don't even
Tinkatuff.
Tinkatuff.
I know Tinkaton.
Tinkatuff
Tinkatuff's
is the other
cool.
one. I would rate it high A, whereas Tinkatuff is like below it.
That's fair. And then of course there's the evolution, Toedscool. Like obviously once I got Toedscool, I knew because at that point I had evolved the other convergent evolution Pokemon in the game. So I figured this would also evolve into something kind of like Tentacruel, but not. And I was kind of anxious to see it because I was hoping it would be up there. And I do like it. I don't love it quite as much as Toedscool. It looks a little less like a silly 50s cartoon character and a little more like some sort of like eldritch horror thing. But I do still appreciate that. And it's still walking on its goofy legs, but now it has like that like snout and stuff. And
Yeah, it's a Cubert. Is that the video game character?
Cubert, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
can see the
has a
Cubert.
Cubert mouth.
I can see the Cubert analogy.
Yeah.
Uh I wish I could put it up there in S. It's probably A. I still love it. But
Mhm.
I can't justify I can't quite justify the S rank. And I don't usually feel like I like an unevolved Pokemon more than its evolution, but this is a case where I do. And I don't think it's fault of the Pokemon. I'm not sure there is literally anything they could have done that would have made me like an evolution more than Toedscool. Like,
Yeah.
I
No, it's
don't think there feasibly was a direction they could have done to like top that.
yeah.
And so for what they did, I think it's fine. They did good. It's still an A rank, and I would still put it above Ceruledge.
I mean, it's really dumb, but I think it'd be funny if, like, for Toedscool, where those yellow protuberance, like, just like hands and then like a head pop out at the top, and it's just like full on leaning into like the like old style cartoon character, like real lanky proportions.
Just go full Cuphead.
Yeah, full Cuphead, full like Steamboat Willie. Like that, I might like that.
I, I'll say both Toedscool and Toedscool make me slightly uncomfortable, but I like it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially with their entries about them being
Oh
consumable.
yeah, the I forgot to read the entry of Toedscool. These
Yeah.
Pokemon gather into groups and form colonies deep within forests. They absolutely hate it when strangers approach. And Violet says it coils its 10 tentacles around prey and sucks out the nutrients, causing the prey pain. Oh, really? The folds along the rim of its head are a popular delicacy.
See,
I love how
they're
they're
both.
like, it causes you pain to suck out your innards. Yeah,
What? Yeah,
I figured that's how my body works.
yeah. I would have
But
assumed being consumed was painful.
But I do appreciate a little more that it mentions it has 10 tentacles just because regular Tentacruel has 40 according to its dex entry,
Yeah,
though you only can see like 10.
for sure. Yeah, but
Oh, 80. 80. I just looked up 80 tentacles.
yeah, I do appreciate that, especially with the 3D models because it's very easy to just count. you know. Um, I rated mid B. I think it's great, but like you said, I like its pre-evolution more than its regular evolution. I don't like the fact that Shiny Toedscool is white, but then Shiny Toedscruel is like, if I remember, it's like a navy or like a purplish blue. And I'm
Um,
like, why didn't you just stay white? Like, and I'm sure that there's some like nature reasoning where like the mushroom that it's based off of probably like its growth stages change
okay,
color or something. I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
see the Toedscool is like all pale white,
Yeah,
and
like I would have loved it if it stayed like that.
Toedscool is like pink tentacles.
Yeah,
I do like the top of Toedscool, like the mushroom part,
yeah.
like it's of the shiny. I mean, because it's like
Hmm,
black,
hmm.
like white bulbous parts. But yeah,
But yeah, that's my rating, mid B.
okay, that's fair. Where is
Kingambit.
Kingambit in the list? Because I need to pull up the deck. Oh, there it is. Dex entries. So Kingambit,
Oh, you,
I do not yet have a Kingambit. I
feel free to take this call.
okay. I do not yet have a King Gambit. I found out it was in the game fairly late. I had to look up I ended up like near the end of the game looked up to see what evolutions there were to old Pokemon because I would have never guessed. And I got a Bisharp and I tried to find something to I tried to like passively evolve it, but I could never found Bisharps that are like leaders of groups. So I don't have one still, but I've seen them as opponents. The Scarlet entry says only a Bisharp that stands above all others in its vast army can evolve into Kingambit. And Violet says though it commands a massive army in battle, it's not skilled at devising complex strategies. It just uses brute strength to keep pushing. It's interesting that it's not good at leading armies. It just uses brute force. Uh, Overall, I feel like it kind of loses the aesthetic appeal of the Poniard line. It doesn't look as sleek anymore. It's stocky and big, and I'm not sure that's the direction I wanted the line to go. I did always think Bisharp could use an evolution, but I don't feel like this is it. This also looks very much like it should be a bug, but it's not. Looks like a beetle of some kind. Uh, like I don't hate it, but it's one of my lesser liked Pokemon in the game, and it's probably a C tier for me. Honestly, below Tinkatink. I was very lukewarm on it, and I mean, it's not like Bisharp's one of my favorite Pokemon. It's not a Pokemon I particularly am crazy about, but this just oops. Uh this just isn't the direction that I think it should have gone. And I kind of always thought it'd be interesting if they did more chess Pokemon in general to go with the Bisharp line, but like I see why they went with it. The name is kind of clever. Kingambit, the King's Gambit. Like, I believe isn't that a chess move? Check. Yeah, it's an opening move, the King's Gambit in chess. So that's fine. It's fine. That's about all I say about it. And once Inheritance is done, he can give his opinion on it. And yeah, I hope you're all doing well. By the way, I know there hasn't been a lot of interaction, which is so I hope everybody watching has been having a great week and is having a great holiday season, whatever holidays you celebrate. And yeah, I am going back home to see my family for the holidays tomorrow. And yeah. Oops. Let me just make sure the windows are not messing up. And time is, ooh, we're kind of burning through time here. So yeah, a quick reminder, this is the last stream of the week, and next week, Tuesday, we are continuing the Pokemon Shield King's Lock, or Advanced King's Lock, and on that's might be the only stream we do next week, but hopefully we can kind of get back to 2 streams again a week on the following week. Yeah, so drink of water. Okay. Yeah, so I know there's been a lot of gaming news because it's almost Christmas. We did have some new Genesis games added to the NSO. I still have to get Marvel Midnight Suns that came out this month, and I haven't really been. My money's been going towards Christmas shopping. I'm sure I'll get a couple games for Christmas. We'll see what I get. Yeah, and I recently beat Bayonetta 3.
I return.
Oh, welcome back.
What was Bayonetta 3?
Bayonetta 3? What about it?
Yeah. How was it? I just heard you just recently finished it.
I loved it. It might be my game of the year.
Ooh. I saw vaguely on that there's like a storybook Bayonetta thing about.
Yeah, it's a prequel to the first
Bayonetta?
game.
I know nothing about it. I just saw it as I was downloading a demo.
Yeah, it's a prequel game. It's in very different style. I think it's an action RPG. That's like a what's the word? Isometric.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, Kingambit, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if you ever found where a bunch of Bisharps spawn, but it's like right in front of the fighting starbase. Like that's where I got my Kingambits.
Yeah, I was going to at some point probably just look it up, but
yeah. Well, like I thought, like because I struggled trying to get like a Kingambit, like you said, organically as well, and it wasn't until post game in the first game, and it took me like over a half hour to, like you said, just like randomly stumble upon Bisharps in leads, and I didn't know how it worked. So like the first couple of times, I just like fought the Bisharp with like a random Bisharp that I owned without the leader's crest because I didn't know how any of it worked, you know.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got it, and then as soon as I got it, I fought 2 terror battles with Kingambit, like back to back. It was so upsetting. I spent like almost an hour trying to get a Kingambit in my fight. And as soon as I get it, I get 2 raid battles. It was the worst. That said, though, I did get a Kingambit in my second playthrough right now that I'm playing through Scarlet. And I like it. It's just, it's kind of squishy and it's real slow, you know?
Squishy?
I mean, it's good tankiness, but like, it spawns right in the fighting area, right? And I don't know typing very well, but I've come to learn that it has a 4 times weakness to fighting.
Yeah, it has a 4 times weakness fighting.
Yeah, which I didn't know. But like I have it in my team, and I'm trying to make it work.
Okay,
I
I
like the
mean,
Supreme Overload ability.
it looks physically bulky, but it's super slow.
Yeah,
Is
and that's the issue, right? Like I have it as like my quote unquote last resort because that's kind of what it's supposed to be built around, right? It has Retaliate, it has Supreme Overlord, where it gets stronger depending on how many allies are defeated, you know. But yeah, like it's super slow. Like I have one with a speed boosting nature, and it's still like everything outspeeds it, you
I
know.
mean, the speed boosting nature wouldn't even be worth it on it because it's
Yeah, it
going to be
really wouldn't. I
outsped.
just say I would I don't know if lucked is the right word, but I like lucked into it having a speed boosting nature, you know, and it's
I
still like it's like ugh.
I don't know much about competitive play, but I could see maybe it being good in a trick room setup
Yeah.
where you want slow stuff.
Yeah. But I like the concept behind it. I like that it runs around on its hair, like if it was like a cloud a la Goku, you know?
Yeah.
Like and I think it's neat. Its special attack, Kowtow Cleave, is essentially just like Dark type Swift, which is, it's whatever. But I
It's
would say,
base 85, so that's a lot better than Swift.
yeah. What would the equivalent be? Like what? Phantom Force? No, Phantom Force is Ghost type, Solar Beam.
I don't think there's an equivalent. It's
It
like a
doesn't miss,
it's like
and it
a
hits hard.
stronger physical dark type Swift.
Yeah. But I would say high B tier, uh, for my man Kingambit, which I named Nobunaga in my playthrough, and then I changed it to something else. Nobunaga it is.